Hello and welcome back to Stanning Stanley Tucci. I'm Hannah.
And I'm David. We're two big Stan Tucci fans. We've been gone a while, and so obviously there's been a lot of Tucci news over the course, and a lot of new projects got announced, and a new show got released.
So we're just going to dive right in with the Tucci news. We're not even going to wait. We're not even going to beat around the bush. We're diving in. And obviously the thing everyone's talking about is Stanley Tucci's cooking show, or all his travel
his food travel show. Italy is beautiful, and the food of Italy is beautiful. So we gotta watch Tucci eat food. Stanley Tucci searching for Italy on CNN. So we've got an article from the New Yorker, because that's how you've made it in terms of white people, and and we have an article from like their gastronomy section by Helen Rosner, published March 27th, 2021, called "The Timeless Fantasy of Stanley Tucci Eating Italian Food." Which I think is a great article. We'd like to read some selections from it now.
Yeah, I mean, it's got the standing energy that we here at Stanning Stanley Tucci are looking for when we try to bring you Tucci news. We don't want just like your basic press report or someone just being like, I guess a Tucci thing exists. No, we are looking for like-minded individuals, and Helen Rosner, a comrade in arms.
Our hats, our hair is off to you. We doff our thick-rimmed glasses to you.
So it's the title of the show is Stanley Tucci Searching for Italy, which just wrapped up its first season. And Helen knows that it's like a little educational, but like it's not really about the education. It's about the Tooch, It's about dreaming that you are walking with the Tooch through Italy, basking in
through the old country.
Right. The ancient architecture and the absolute magnetism of the man himself. I just love. There's a paragraph in the middle that sort of quotes him and talks about what it's like to watch him, and he says, "This bread is an aphrodisiac," he says, standing outside a bakery in Bologna, and adds, "I'm all alone in a hotel. Why would I want to do that?" His suave exterior shows cracks only in moments of sensory ecstasy, taking a deep whiff of a split wheel of Parmigiano Reggiano, I don't even know if I said that right, or letting the funk of a ribbon of prosciutto blossom on his tongue. He moans, he sighs, he murmurs. The whole thing verges on obscene. Tucissimo!
Tucissimo!
Like, David, we have a new word for when we come across
a word that perfectly describes the Italianness that we experience in almost every Tucci credit that we've watched so far has been excessively Italian.
Tucissimo is incredible. Thank you.
Not that he won't play like Jews and other ethnicities later, but for now it's just so authentically, beautifully Italian.
Thank you, Ms. Rosner, for your contribution to our lexicon. I know you had a part that you really loved.
I also wanted to read a selection from the end of the article, because I think it crescendos, it culminates at the end. So here goes. "He's no Bourdain," one CNN devotee in my life said of Tucci unprompted a few weeks ago. I suppose
unprompted?
I agree. Yeah, it's exactly like one of those clickhole, quotes from celebrities. Unprompted. "He's no Bourdain." I suppose I agree, though that's sort of like saying that a langoustine isn't a porterhouse. Like Tucci, Anthony Bourdain was rich in charisma and possessed unlikely sex appeal, but Bourdain, the travel show host, served as a spotlight, fondly illuminating the people and places around him. Tucci is an electromagnet. Even when he's in a crowd, he seems like the only person on the screen, and the show is at its best when it stops fighting the desire to focus entirely on him. He chops carrots for a sofrito in a rented apartment in Florence with his mother. He adds another knob of snow white butter to a massive skillet of garlic and cabbage as he makes pizzoccheri, a Lombardian specialty, as a gesture of appreciation for his crew. At one point, Tucci takes the camera away from his director of photography so that the man can eat. It's the best moment in the series. Tucci on camera, then behind the camera, then back on camera again, at once the cook and the creator, the lens through which we see the meal and the meal itself.
The meal itself.
And I think that's a great summation of why Tucci and food, you know, it's sex appeal and appetite, you know, sort of together in the same package. I think this captures that very well.
Absolutely. It's, you know, all the cosmopolitan, you know, class and like graceful sex appeal that anyone can muster. That's incredible. I think that's it for Tucci news, or did we have more?
I think that's basically it for Tucci news. He got snubbed at the Oscars, you know.
Snubbed!
We would have him win an Oscar for every one of these credits that we watch on here, including all the movies that we think are terrible.
Prizzy's honor was clearly his Oscar moment, David, as Bagman.
We would nominate him for any number of acting awards and later on directing and writing. But he got snubbed for Supernova this year, and you know. We'll talk about maybe some of the press releases for his upcoming projects next time. But for now, we really want to talk about some of his television credits as we continue to watch every single thing that he's ever been in, even for a moment. Yep. Every moment of Stanley Tucci's filmed life, we are going to experience. We've decided. So why don't we talk a little bit about his role as Karl Draconis in the 1990s melodrama, soap opera, late night soap.
I feel like it's the This Is Us. It's the This Is Us of the late 80s or early 90s,
yes,
you know?
That's a good comparison. For those of you who haven't heard of 30-something before, you know, by which I mean people in our generation and not their parents. Because this is like the boomer show. This is like the young boomer show. It's like boom X's or whatever, X-boomers, whatever they like to be called, those borderline generational people. But the fact that it's called 30-something, it's inherently calling attention to the generational aspect, right? I mean, that's got to be something to it.
Oh, I think so, 100%. And I mean, even if not just like you know, it's like there are shows like this every decade where it's like, this is what it's like to be a young adult in like now.
But at the same time, it's of course trying to obscure all of the other aspects of similarity between these characters, their whiteness, their upper middle classness, their that they're moving up in the worldness. What's the word for that?
Upward mobility.
Upward mobility. That's what I was looking for. Thank you. So yeah, I mean, this show had appeal to basically the people watching it who look like the people in it.
It's very white. I think in the entire show there were 3 black people. I mean, we only watched 2 episodes, but still 3 in the whole thing.
And I think 2 of those were regulars. You know, the people that you see at work, you know, it's
you know, the one black
90s. Guy. It's depicting the real 90s, how, you know, none of your parents have any black friends, you know.
So you have one.
You may know one black person at your work. That's what it's like being white in the 90s.
Yeah, being middle class. I also couldn't tell, are they in a city? I just don't know where any of this is set.
God, I didn't look it up. Do you want to look that up with me? Oh, it is in Philly.
It's in Philly. It's so Jewy.
Right. Well, there's upwardly mobile Jews in the
Jews.
greater Philadelphia area.
In the 90s, yes, both of our parents.
Ex-Trendnites, as our parents are, sort of ex-Jerseyites. So I think maybe we should jump right into what is Tucci's role in all this.
Yes. So as you said, David, his character is called Karl Draconis. So just take a wild guess if he's a good guy or a bad guy.
Is he maybe a little draconian? Is he maybe someone with power over someone else? And
a boss named Karl Draconis? What?
Right. It's also such like an ethnically like non-existent name. Like you can't look at like the name Karl Draconis and be like, all right, this guy's Italian.
Right. Like I think this is his first TV role as like a not explicitly like Italian, where he had like more than 2 lines,
Right. He's been cops, he's been robbers. That's basically been it. And if he's not a cop or a robber, he's like a guy involved with cops and robbers, mostly.
Right. So this is, he's just a boss now. He's just a guy. I mean, I think it's really interesting. I think you can definitely tell that, someone saw his performance as Rick Pinzolo. Is that the name from the Garment?
Yeah, from Wise Guy.
Wise Guys, yes.
Yeah.
So like
he's
they
a
saw
mob boss. He's in charge of a business.
Right.
A garment business. It's a shady business, but he controls the room is the point. And he's
right.
He's, extremely modern. He's not one of these like old country mobsters. He's very new world, very, very modern, very hip. And I think that transfers over to this character.
Right. And I mean, I think as in all of his roles, just very cosmopolitan, very polished, very chic. And I think that is very much brought to this character. He's sort of the old creative director at this new marketing agency that the main character, Michael, has just started working at. And, of course, he's set up in opposition as sort of the like, no, your idea is dumb and I'm just going to stop you because I don't like you.
It's so like written from the perspective of like an employee who hated his boss. Like there's no nuance to it. It's literally like, I want credit for your brilliant idea, so I'm going to say no to it purely because I don't like that you came up with it, not me. And I'm afraid that you're coming for my job.
It's so funny though, because that's clearly like the emotional beats that like the show is performing and that the actors are hitting, but the dialogue itself, all the boss says is like, okay, where's your research? And he's just like, well, it'll work. Don't worry about it, man. And like, as someone who's worked in an office, you do need to have like a little bit of like something to back up your idea,
Right. Well, you're forgetting, Hannah, that this is advertising. And as an industry that I know nothing about, I'm going to tell you exactly what the advertising industry is.
Great. I'm ready.
Because I watched Mad Men and I watched 2 episodes of 30-something, so I know.
Honestly,
but basically it's just, you're not marketing to people, to real people. You're marketing only to businesses to try and convince them that your idea makes sense, because the data on whether this improves sales or not is completely secondary to making sure that it's a narrative that the business owners can get behind. Like, oh, we're selling to cool hip people with this ad, please. And that's why all the scenes in Mad Men where Don Draper is pitching the ads is so much more important than like a scene of somebody watching the ad and being like, that's a good ad.
No, it's so funny because I low-key feel like this guy is like this character Michael is kind of like proto Don Draper, you know,
Right.
like without the prestige TV shine
I
that would
think he
come
also
20
has an
years down the
affair
line.
at some point with like a coworker at some
It
point. I don't know.
it seems like it's heavily implied that he and the secretary are gonna like hook up or whatever. But
Paige? I don't know. I don't know if that
yeah,
happens, but I think that there's a plot line somewhere in like season 2 or something.
who knows? And anyway, um, he, but like, it's like if Don Draper had like a boss who was like, okay, but like actually do your job though, you know? And like, we're supposed to be like, that guy's the villain. But like, I'm kind of on Stanley Tucci's side. Like, where's their fucking research, man? You
Right.
know,
Well,
like,
we're a little biased, I'm sure, but yeah. So anyway, what is it? What is the product that they're marketing?
it's like candy bars. It's like moon pies or something. It's Minnesota brands. Great
Right.
fake
They just
company.
scored in like the previous episode a Minnesota Brands contract, uh,
Yeah.
which is huge. And then Stanley Tucci's like, listen, you know, we all know that the you know a big company like that switching partners and going with a new agency, they were doing that because they were ready for it. So let's not give too much credit to the people who scored the biggest business in the history of this company. So,
Which,
you
to
know,
be
just
fair,
like
is a dick move.
he's just completely underplaying the acquisition of this huge new client, and then they're like, oh, they're giving us this really tough brand that's like not selling at all. It's a challenge, so we got to surprise them with a really exciting new ad campaign. And it's, you know, they're like Charleston shoes or something, like, you know, some really
Yeah.
old person candy. And and so they're just like, well, what if we market the candy bars to adults?
What?
That's never been done before. Oh, so innovative. And like, you know, it's, you know, it's, Karl Draconis is treating it like it's a crazy idea that could never possibly work. And then the
Right.
person above him, this Miles guy who's like a fucking psychopath,
Oh my
just
God, is
who just
he
moves like a robot
insane?
and like walks around like he's played by David Brenner, who was
He's
in The
like,
Thing. So like he's used to playing aliens and monsters.
here's the thing. He plays this character as though he's an eccentric count, and like his workplace are like his underlings just like fluttering about for his amusement. And like he's like Meryl Streep in Devil Wears Prada, but instead of terrifying, just like utterly baffling, you know?
Right. I called him David Brenner. He's David Clennon, and he was in
Okay.
Carpenter's The Thing. He played Palmer.
Okay.
Uh, you know, one of the aliens, I guess. You know. But yeah, he's an absolute creep. But he
I kind of
approaches their
loved
new
him.
idea as like, oh my god, you've busted the roof off of this whole candy selling operation. Selling candy to adults?
It's this is the best idea ever. And so, you know, then like a little, some of that trickles down to Karl Draconis.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know.
And then
Then
he
there's
said,
just like a lot of,
did you get in the way of this brilliant idea, Karl Draconis? I heard it and I said they should do more research. It's like,
yeah.
so you're telling me that you passed on this idea? You must have passed on a dozen terrible ideas. You're fired. And then they canned Tucci like
It's
it was
it's
nobody.
it's wild though, because he's in like episode 10 of season 3, right? They
Yeah,
introduce this
season 3,
character.
episode 10,
And like,
Michael's campaign.
right. And so like Michael is like, you know, trying to, like, he says this to Stanley Tucci's character at one point, like, I'm not after your job, like I'm just trying to get this really good idea across, I promise. And Stanley Tucci's like, all right, you've convinced me. And then 10 minutes into the next episode he gets fired. Like,
Yeah.
it's just
not even 10 minutes.
wild.
It's like the first scene. It's like more.
That's true.
It's almost the first scene.
Minute. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just literally like he's out, and then immediately promotes Michael to Tucci's job, like no time in between whatsoever. And he's like, well, I told him I didn't want his job, and he's like, well, are you gonna not take it? No, I'm definitely gonna take it. But Tucci, he's above it all. He's he's the bigger man. He actually recommended Michael for the job. So, no hard feelings, no sweat, even though they literally like make fun of him and they're like, here's his severed head made out of tape.
Oh my God.
And now he's gonna have to go to therapy and job placement.
Yeah.
It's like he's gonna be on unemployment. What a loser. It's ridiculously disproportionate to, he was mean. He was mean to you. He was a little rude in the last episode. All right.
It would just make a lot more sense if, this had been like a season-long arc, or like a mid-season arc. Like, you gotta play up this rivalry and this dick measuring contest a little bit for us to be like, ding dong, the witch is dead.
I imagine that like this plays into a larger arc with him where like he, his inability to handle success, the death of his father, his failed business, and then having to get a job at a big firm that's corporate and stifling. And his conflicts with Miles, the alien boss from outer space.
And his best friend, Elliot.
And his best friend. Oh my God. This like comic relief type redhead character. Awful, unwatchable character.
He's like
their best friends since birth.
Quick shout out to how Jewish the episode 10 is. The main character, Michael, is apparently Jewish. Didn't know this. And they fucking have them saying the mourner's Kaddish and like
his dad died in the previous or maybe not the immediately previous episode, but then his dad's ghost shows up throughout the episode to root for him and say, oh, you could have been student council president. It was a brave thing to do. It's okay to fail as long as you get right back on that horse.
Well, it's okay to fail, but it's also okay to screw over your dumb friends if you made them a promise. But also, don't worry about trying to succeed too fast, man. It had very conflicting messages. It didn't make a lot of sense.
It really speaks to somebody who is like in the writer's room trying to work through their own issues with their dad and their own fear of success, or whatever 90s like pop psychology term, they were dealing with at the time. It's my fear of success.
It's your imposter syndrome.
Right. Well, that's the more modern one, right? It's like every generation has their pop psychology terms that they overuse, in places that they don't apply. Because we're all pop psychologists now.
Of course. That's what the internet is for.
That's what the internet is for.
No major whomst we alsos this week. There's a lot of people who had some bit roles.
Who knows who any of these people are other than Tucci? Tucci, you made it out, and we respect it for it. We respect you for it.
We do. I did recognize the blonde lady who plays the redhead's wife. She apparently has some roles in like Alias or something, but like I don't know.
Alias.
She was also in Brothers and
maybe
Sisters,
she's a
but I didn't watch that.
Who's just simply trying to get all the trade secrets from this this ad agency.
This bumbling redhead. Oh yes, I see her play now.
Right. Should we? Do you have any key Tucci quotes that you want to lay on us from these episodes?
Oh man.
Let's bring up the
I don't
notes.
know.
Yeah, there was a point where where Michael is giving a pitch. He's giving his main pitch, and he's like, either MB doesn't trust us with a real account, or it's like a test. And then Tucci's like, it's a lovely sort of Zen pep talk, Michael. I liked that. I liked that a lot. And
There
then
wasn't
one of his criticisms
any.
of him was that you're getting out ahead of the client, huh? And then we're gonna lose him in the dust. He's like turning all of his words around on him, where he's saying like, we should get out ahead of the client. We should get out ahead of the data. Yeah. You're gonna lose the client. See?
Yeah. For me, it wasn't so much any of the writing or the lines in this show, but it was just Tucci's performance. Like, he plays an exasperated, like condescending asshole just so well.
Yeah. I mean, you see a
It's
lot of
great.
the physicality that you definitely saw with Rick Pinzol. He's got every time you see him in an office, he's got his like finger on his forehead like this.
Yeah.
Like that's how he rests his head. Like this is how you know I'm stressed. He does the one hand on the hip a lot when he's walking into a room. It creates just an air of superiority to everything he does. And he does this sort of half hand wave thing a lot.
Yeah.
Just let me put it out there for you. This is my point. I love that Tucci physicality, and I especially love his faces during all of the pitch meeting scenes, because he's conveying I'm not telling you what I think of it until I'm telling you, which is exactly
Right.
what bosses do. They're stone-faced in that thing where you could read what their face is saying as either I'm interested, tell me more, I'm very I'm thinking about it a lot, or you could read it as this is the dumbest thing I've ever heard and you're fired. So that's like what bosses do, and like the great executives of American companies are known for their inscrutable faces during meetings, because they're able to then like turn on a dime if an idea turns
poker face. Yeah.
Poker face, yeah. But he can't beat the poker face of the literal Count Alien Dracula boss Miles, who then pulls the same shit on him and gets him fired.
Yeah. So. Yeah. It's well done.
Any other notes on this one? Or can we
wrap
up 30-something for life?
It was great. I mean, the show was not Tucci was. It was fine. There was nothing wrong with it. Right. It was just fine.
Yeah. I just thought it was funny to start an episode and then he's in it for just a little bit and then he's out of it forever. And like literally forever. Like, I mean, if this was Rick Pinzolo, for a fact when he got fired, he'd be coming back in with a handgun and he would blast Michael away. He'd say, "So long, sucker," and then blast him. And then that would be it for crossing him.
He's a little more tame here. He's a little more emasculated.
He's the bigger man.
What do we have coming up next for Tucci?
Well, that's the question, because some of this media is kind of hard to find. So if anyone can tell me if there's a place that you can find Equal Justice. Has anyone ever heard of the show Equal Justice or Life Stories on NBC? Does anyone have a DVD of that? Otherwise, I think we're gonna do the 1990 film Men of Respect. We're back to mob movies, baby.
Tuccissimo.
Very Tuccissimo. We'll continue to use that word in the future. Yes. So check us out next time.
See you then. Bye.
Ciao. That's Italian, right?
Yeah.
Bene.